Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Joyce has gone full circle, reuniting with his first head trainer, Ismael Salas. So the pair have linked up in Las Vegas. Salas will be training Joyce for this fight with Daniel Dubois that he has coming up on April the 11th. And this is all being confirmed to me by Sam Jones, Joyce's manager. And there was a question about who was going to be training Joyce, because at the Dubois and Joyce press conference to announce the fight, etc., it was revealed that Joyce had parted ways with Adam Booth, who trained him for the best part of a year since April 2019. That only recently split, and they spoke about needing to sort of get away and give Joyce the best opportunity to excel and have the best camp ever, because he needed to be at his best for the Dubois fight. So it left the question of, one, who was going to be training him, but also what was behind the split. And perhaps we will never know, but in terms of Joyce and Salas, they worked together for the best part of a year at the start of Joyce's professional career. I like this move. I actually think this is a good move. And they only parted ways the first time around because Joyce split with David Haye and he went off to America. He had a new setup which involved, signing on with Al Heyman, training at Big Bear. He eventually went to Abel Sanchez and was with him for the best part of a year. And it didn't sort of work for everyone to Salas to stay on board with different commitments that he had. But coming back to him, this is, in my view, a good move, and it's a familiar voice. He's got a good rapport. That was clear from different training clips, interviews that, from 2017, etc., that they worked well together. And the fact that he's gone back to Salas indicates that, the bond is still there. It's still strong. And there was a lot of commentary in my last video where I discussed the split with Adam Booth and potential reasons for that. There were some people sort of saying, well, it's just Joyce. He wants to, get knowledge from different people, yada, yada, yada. But one of the things that I and others were saying in the comment section in response to that sort of stuff was consistency is actually a good thing. And going back to Salas, who he knows very well, he knows his how he likes to work, and obviously they've worked together before and had a good rapport and relationship, and a successful one for the first few fights of Joyce's career. There is some consistency that he can immediately fall back onto, sort of sink in with Salas, kind of like they never really parted ways. So I think that is actually a plus for Joyce, because in that previous video I sort of said, going to a new trainer, especially if you haven't worked with them before, sometimes that can take time to actually establish a rapport, work well, and sort of adapt to the training methods that the new trainer is going to impart to you. So Joyce going back to something that's familiar is good for his camp here, ahead of what is the biggest fight of his career. He needs to win this fight against Daniel Dubois. I don't want to completely say it's make or break, but Joyce at 34, turning 35 this year, turned pro late, obviously, good amateur career, but he needs things to go his way and right now, whereas Daniel Dubois can kind of come again. So it wouldn't be fatal for Joyce's career, but it would definitely be a massive body blow to his chances of competing for a heavyweight title, let alone winning one. So coming back to Ismael Salas, in the early part of Joyce's career, you could actually fight by fight see little bits of development. And I think for this fight with Daniel Dubois, we're going to see Joyce actually going back to some of what we saw under Salas in some of those early fights. If you recall, early on, Joyce was actually sticking and moving in some of his fights under Salas. There was the Donny Palmer fight where he was actually using the ring, using his footwork, and he looked relatively fleet of foot. He looked decent in there, albeit against limited opposition. Ultimately got the job done, first round knockout against Palmer. But a couple of fights where you saw incremental development and the movement by Joyce was getting better. He looked a little bit more fluid. And then he went with Abel Sanchez after having been with Salas. The movement, it was less. It was more sort of come forward, that pressure style, and he sort of bulked up as well into the 260s, which I sort of thought, even though Joyce has got a good engine, in the 260s was maybe a little bit too much, that maybe eventually, not at the sort of level he was fighting at the time, but as he climbed up, the extra bulk maybe wouldn't help him. And now that he's going to be training with Salas again, maybe we will see a return to him being between 250 and 255, as opposed to the 260s with Abel Sanchez, and he was 256 under Adam Booth for his last fight against Bryant Jennings, and 261 before against Ustinov. Those were the two Booth fights. But they do have a good rapport, and I think Joyce probably in this fight against Daniel Dubois, we're going to see him using the ring, utilizing movement, stick and move, trying to give Daniel Dubois a little something that he hasn't seen before. And we have seen that Joyce does have some adaptability from those early fights, like against Rudolf Josic, Donny Palmer. There was also Lenroy Thomas, Avika Bakurin. That was a bit of a joke fight, but Joe Joyce was showing some movement as Bakurin was literally running around the room. But I do think that Salas is a good move. And does this increase my sort of optimism that he's going to do well in this fight? Yeah, I think it does, because I think consistency is important, especially on the training front. And they had a good working relationship. He's coming back to it. They're saying that they're going to live a Spartan lifestyle and really go caveman style, do everything in their power to make sure that Joyce is prepared to the umpteenth degree when he faces Daniel Dubois. Because let's face it, he's going to need to be. It's going to be a tough test. But Dubois, he likes tracking forward, as he sort of says, and this is the way that the fight's being billed, seek and destroy. I think Joe Joyce, of the two, at this point in their careers, has shown more versatility in terms of styles and the way that he might fight. So I think, even though people criticize Joyce for maybe being a bit slow and plodding, I think he might surprise some people in this fight with the way he will look to fight. I think he's going to look for some angles. He's going to look to make Daniel Dubois work and maybe put that gas tank under pressure. We've never really seen Dubois forced to fight at a good clip, forced to really sort of track someone down around the ring for round after round after round. The only time that he went the distance was against Kevin Johnson, and Johnson barely threw a punch in that fight. So Joe Joyce and Ismael Salas linking up again. What do you make of it? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.